So with Wayne Rooney looking likely to return to Everton 13 years after leaving them for Manchester United in a £30 million deal, let's take a look at the Toffees starting 11 from the final game he played for them. A 5-1 defeat at Manchester City in May 2004, and that was before they were rich. Nigel Martyn. Nigel Martyn had signed for Everton in the summer of 2003 and stayed with the Toffees until 2006, when an ankle injury forced him to hang up his boots at the age of 40. David Moyes later hailed him as his greatest ever signing. I'm not sure if I completely agree with that, but I can definitely tell you what wasn't his greatest one. Martyn has briefly spent time as a goalkeeping coach at Bradford City. They need all the help they can get. Tony Hibbert. Tony Hibbert is an Everton hero. The Blue who came through the Goodison Park ranks, spent his entire career at the club, never complained about being second, third or even fourth choice. He was released in 2016 after barely featuring the previous 4 seasons. At the age of 36, he's recently joined Sunday League team Hayes FC, who had been undefeated and just won a game 21-0. Hibbert steps onto the pitch for his debut. The team instantly loses. Alan Stubbs. It only takes wandering over to one of the worst teams in Premier League history for 5 minutes to realise that you probably shouldn't have left your club to begin with. Alan Stubbs had captained Everton to an unprecedented 4th place the season after Rooney's departure, but refused the club's offer of a 1-year deal and took up the option to sign for newly promoted Sunderland instead. The Black Cats went on to get trashed every week. He was caught celebrating Tim Cahill's last-minute winner at the Stadium of Light, and he was quickly booted back to Merseyside in January on a free transfer. He went on to lead more European charges, but seemingly did not learn his lesson, leaving Goodison Park in January 2008 to sign for an even worse team than the Sunderland one. He was relegated with Derby County, failing to win a single game with them, before announcing his retirement in August 2008. And to be honest, could you blame him? He was appointed coach of Hibernian in June 2014 and swiftly guided them to second place in the 14-15 Scottish Championship and to a Scottish Cup victory the following season, their first piece of silverware in their 114-year history. He succeeded Neil Warnock at Rotherham United in June 2016. He was sacked after just 14 games, with just 1 win and a losing streak of 7, with the worst goal difference in the entire Football League. David Weir. David Weir left Everton for Rangers in 2007, having spent 8 seasons at the club. The former Scotland international saw out the remaining 5 years of his career in Glasgow, assuming the club captaincy in April 2009 and collecting silverware from all angles. He retired in May 2012, and a year later he signed a 3-year deal to manage League One club Sheffield United. He was sacked in October 2013 after the club won 1 of its opening 13 games. Since then, he spent time as assistant boss to Mark Warburton, first at Brentford and then at Rangers. Steve Watson. Steve Watson found his 5 years at Goodison Park to be interrupted by injuries, but did steer relatively clear for the 03-04 and 04-05 campaigns. He signed for West Brom in 2005, got relegated, before seeing out the final 2 years of his career at Sheffield Wednesday. He retired in 2009 and is currently the assistant boss to John Askey at Macclesfield Town. James McFadden. Ask Scotland fans about James McFadden and they will wax lyrical about the screamer he bagged during a 1-0 win in Paris 10 years ago. Everton fans might have a slightly different memory of the man. He was undoubtedly talented but could often be found wanting in the work rate department. He left Goodison Park for Birmingham City in January 2007 before briefly returning to the Toffees in 2011, with a succession of injuries having left him practically washed up at the age of 28. Since then he spent time at Sunderland, Motherwell, St Johnstone and Motherwell again. He's currently looking to get into coaching. Lee Carsley. Lee Carsley's everlasting moment at Goodison Park will forever be his winning strike in the 200th Merseyside derby, a goal which temporarily lifted the club into second place in the league in December. Not bad for a side who'd been stripped of their best player and were seemingly doomed to relegation. Carsley left the club in May 2008, signing for hometown club Birmingham City. He helped the Blues achieve promotion back to the Premier League during the 08-09 season, before leaving in July 2010 for Coventry City, where he made 25 appearances before retiring. Since then, he spent time in coaching roles at Coventry City, Sheffield United, Brentford and at England underage level, despite having 40 caps for Ireland, but whatever. He's just recently left his job as the Manchester City under-18 manager. Joseph Yobo. Deployed in an unfamiliar midfield role in Manchester, maybe that's why they lost 5-1 that day, Joseph Yobo ended up spending 9 years at Everton, as a centre-back, albeit the final 2 were spent on loan at Fenerbahce. He signed for the Turkish Giants on a permanent basis in 2012, winning a Turkish Super League before seeing out his final days with an unsuccessful loan spell back in England, with Norwich City in 2014. He's currently Nigeria's record appearance holder with 101 caps. Leon Osman. In November 2012, Leon Osman made his international debut at the age of 31 years old. It was probably one of the proudest days in his life. Less than 4 years later, he was getting dumped by the club he'd given 19 years of his life to, over the internet. I'd say that day didn't even make his top 5. It seemed a strange way to dispatch of a man who'd given his entire career to the club, to announce it via the club's website rather than to his face. Since then he's taken the Jermaine Genius approach to retirement, shoving his face in the media in the hope that somebody might take him, until he will inevitably face facts and call it quits any day now. Thomas Radzinski. The big transfer fuss of 2004 surrounded Wayne Rooney, Thomas Radzinski might have felt a bit left out that nobody was paying too much attention to him, leaving for Fulham in a £1.7 million deal. He spent 3 years at the club, scoring 17 goals, 117 appearances, before taking in spells at Goodison Park, HITC and Vaslin Beveren. The Canadian hung up his boots in 2012 and is now the current technical director of HITC. Wayne Rooney. Where is Wayne Rooney now? Looking like he's on his way back to the club he fought so desperately to leave 13 years ago. The England international has achieved pretty much everything he wanted to at Old Trafford, winning everything in sight and becoming the record goal scorer for both club and country, winding down his career back at the club of his boyhood dreams. Not a bad way to finish. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and make sure you check out Footy Feed for all the latest transfer rumours and news.